Hello and welcome to this episode of How to Be a Great Player. Well, according to the voters poll on www.greatgamemaster.com, the vote for topic of this week is on player etiquette. Now, I rubbed my head and went, well, we've kind of handled why you shouldn't be a dick player, but we didn't necessarily handle how and what player etiquette is and what constitutes it. So, these are my 5 steps on having good etiquette as a player. Now, these apply to the GMs as well, don't you worry. Step number 1, or first form of good etiquette, is table manners. And I've done videos on table manners, so you can go and watch those videos. But in short, don't butt in, let your fellow players finish, let the GM finish, and wait for your initiative before blurting out what your character's doing. Yes, we get excited, but we must reserve ourselves. This is good player etiquette, after all. One must be dignified. One must be polite to one's fellow players. One must let our fellow players talk, and one should listen attentively to the GM whilst the GM is pontificating on the current situation. So, good table manners is important. Please and thank you. Please pass me that dice. Thank you very much. Takes nothing, but it makes it, well, just that much nicer. And ultimately, that's what etiquette is for. So the first one, table manners. Have good table manners. Do you have good table manners? Next one, know your character. Now, this has cropped up in a few videos before, I know, but knowing your character is important. It's actually a very good sign of a good player to actually know your character. Now, some of you might be going, how do people not know their character? Well, the important thing is you don't need to know what every single skill and every single spell does to the finest letter, but you need to know your character. You need to know what their skills are, what their stats are, what their defense is, what their attack is. And you need to know that, well, fairly much off the top of your head. It's not that many numbers to remember, and it just makes the game flow freely, flow smoothly. That you're not constantly going, my character is on page 12 and I don't... No, just be able to answer a few basic questions about your character without having to look at your character sheet every 3 seconds. You also need to know your spells and your powers. So if you've got powers that you're going to be using all the time, for heaven's sakes, just learn them. It's really not that difficult. They're usually not that complicated. So if you're always casting healing, know what your healing spell does. If you are always flying the starship, know what your bonuses are, know what your commands are. Just get on with it and know it. You shouldn't have the rule book sitting right next to you so that you can check up the mundane activities. You should have the rule book there so you can check the ones that are not so obvious. And you would do that, of course, not on your turn, but on the turn of somebody else. That comes back to good table manners, doesn't it? So, the next thing, you should always be prepared. Be prepared. Be prepared. That means arriving with pen, pencil, paper, your character sheet. Yes, your character sheet. Some people have forgotten to bring their character sheets in the past, and those of you that have it on your devices, well, that's great, but you also need to bring some spare paper along. And of course, bring your dice. Some people have arrived going, uh-oh, I left my dice at home. I either can't game or I have to use somebody else's. And what that means is, as part of being prepared, part of being prepared is then to bring additional stuff for your fellow players. Bring an extra pen or 3. Bring an extra dice set or 12. We've all got them. Bring extra paper. Bring extra notes. Bring extra character sheets. Surely that's the GM's responsibility. Well, yes it is, but what if the GM's forgotten to do it? A good player will be prepared. Be polite. Now, this might sound a little bit like the old people talking about the youngsters not being polite anymore. But there's nothing wrong at the end of a session saying, thanks everybody, I really had a great time. I enjoyed playing with you guys. That's being polite. Please pass me the dice. Please pass me the paper. May I please have the player's handbook? Rather than, give me the player's handbook. Pass me the dice. That's just not nice. Be polite. Being polite also includes, if you arrive before the rest of the players, and you see that the table is bare, saying, "Hey, GM, can I grab some glasses and put the glasses out for everybody? Could I put out the spare paper? Could I grab the rule books from the bookshelf and put them on the table here? Do you need me to help rearrange the room, to bring chairs around? Can I assist in that way?" And once the game is done, to then say, right, now that there are beer bottles everywhere, there's chip packets all over the place, and there's noodles on the ceiling, can I help clean up? The GM is going to be doing all of that on their own if they're the host, or if it's another player who's the host, they will be doing it on their own. Just be polite and offer them a little bit of help. It doesn't take a lot of time, and many hands make light work. To quote an old person saying, just be nice, damn it. And then, of course, finally, give feedback. This is a very short video, isn't it? But there's not much to talk about when we're talking about player etiquette. Basically, avoid being a dick by following these simple rules. So give feedback. Give feedback to your GM. I really liked the session. I wasn't sure exactly about the ending. I felt it might have been a little bit contrived, but I could see that you were tired or I didn't understand it. So can you explain it to me? Or if not, because it's linked to something else, just know that I felt a little bit lost. Maybe it's me, I'm a thickie. Be polite to your fellow players. Oh, I really liked what you did in that last session. It was really cool. Send them a WhatsApp. Oh, I liked what you did with that. Or if you have some kind of complaint, hey, I noticed that you were a little bit pushy in that. Is everything all right? Are you okay? You need someone to beat up, whatever. Just be nice. And of course, then you also need to give feedback to yourself. Now, what do I mean by feedback to yourself? Well, I simply mean at the end of every session, reflect a little bit and go, what happened in that game? Was I, moi, me, was I polite, helpful, useful? Did I let others speak? Did I not let others speak? Did I butt in? Was I this or that? Did I help clean up afterwards? Did I make myself Did I make myself generally useful and helpful? Yes, I did? Oh, good. Well done me. Pat on the back and off you go, ready for your next session. So that, to me, is player etiquette in a nutshell, and a very short and small nutshell that might be. Because ultimately I think it's about making sure that, yes, everybody's having fun and you're playing the game, but also just being a nice person in general. So I'm sure most of you are, and those of you who aren't, well, maybe here's a little bit of a wake-up. That's right, a little bit of a wake-up. Until next time, I wish you the very happiest of playing.